Okay, it says we're live. So, yeah, today we're going to be talking about Satisampajañña. There's a sutta that talks about how Satisampajañña is supportive or onward leading towards many skillful or wholesome qualities. So, and I also have some extracts from other suttas to show what the Buddha actually says, the instructions on how to practice Sati Sampajañña. And then also we'll have the various ways this compound word is translated. So I'm going to share a document that I prepared. Let's see if I can share. This is a good thing to do. So I think others can see that.
Yes.
So I'm just going to start out by just reading through Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. Would you mind reading?
Sure. Bhikkhus, practitioners, when there is no mindfulness and clear comprehension, for one deficient in mindfulness and clear comprehension, the sense of moral shame and moral dread lack their proximate cause. When there is no sense of moral shame and moral dread, for one deficient in a sense of moral shame and moral dread, restraint of the sense faculties lacks its proximate cause. When there is no restraint of the sense faculties, for one deficient in restraint of the sense faculties, virtuous behavior lacks its proximate cause. When there is no virtuous behavior, for one deficient in virtuous behavior, right concentration lacks its proximate cause. When there is no right concentration, for one deficient in right concentration, the knowledge and vision of things as they really are lacks its proximate cause. When there is no knowledge and vision of things as they really are, for one deficient in the knowledge and vision of things as they really are, disenchantment and dispassion lack their proximate cause. When there is no disenchantment and dispassion, for one deficient in disenchantment and dispassion, the knowledge and vision of liberation lacks its proximate cause.
So the Buddha often starts out with the negative when we aren't fulfilling these wholesome qualities, and how important starting out with Sati Sampajañña, or Bhikkhu Bodhi says mindfulness and clear comprehension. And I like, actually, that's actually good. I mean, it's hard to really have a English translation that really encompasses a lot important Pali words like these. So now there's a simile.
Suppose there is a tree deficient in branches and foliage, then its shoots do not grow to fullness. Also its bark, softwood, and heartwood do not grow to fullness. So too, when there is no mindfulness and clear comprehension, for one deficient in mindfulness and clear comprehension, the sense of moral shame and moral dread lack their proximate cause. When there is no sense of moral shame and moral dread, etc., the knowledge and vision of liberation lacks its proximate cause.
We'll look at alternative translations of some of these terms. Not all of them, but a number of them. So if Yeah, if we could just finish reading this and then we can
Oh, sure.
start looking at this Bhante Sujato's translation and Pali and some of comparing Bhikkhu Bodhis, and we can talk about sutta a little bit more in detail.
When there is mindfulness and clear comprehension, for one possessing mindfulness and clear comprehension, the sense of moral shame and moral dread possess their proximate cause. When there is a sense of moral shame and moral dread, for one possessing a sense of moral shame and moral dread, restraint of the sense faculties possesses its proximate cause. When there is restraint of the sense faculties for one who exercises restraint over the sense faculties, virtuous behavior possesses its proximate cause. When there is virtuous behavior for one whose behavior is virtuous, right concentration possesses its proximate cause. When there is right concentration for one possessing right concentration, the knowledge and vision of things as they really are possesses its proximate cause. When there is the knowledge and vision of things as they really are, for one possessing the knowledge and vision of things as they really are, disenchantment and dispassion possess their proximate cause. When there is disenchantment and dispassion, for one possessing disenchantment and dispassion, the knowledge and vision of liberation possesses its proximate cause. Suppose there is a tree possessing branches and foliage, then its shoots grow to fullness. Also its bark, softwood, and heartwood grow to fullness. So too, when there is mindfulness and clear comprehension, for one possessing mindfulness and clear comprehension, the sense of moral shame and moral dread possess their proximate cause. And when there is a sense of moral shame and moral dread, etc., the knowledge and vision of liberation possesses its proximate cause.
So this is an extract from the Numerical Discourses of the Buddha, and it's the Wisdom publication, translation by Bhikkhu Bodhi. And I was thinking about this simile, and it talks about the branches and foliage. If the leaves are deficient, if there's not enough leaves to capture the sunlight, I'm just thinking about that, what it was. And I started thinking about how elephants eat branches, and they eat their there's some African word for elephant that would be translated as tree eater. So they do damage trees by eating the foliage. So it's kind of like they're lacking this awareness of clear comprehension. We don't have the leaves of a tree collecting the energy, and so everything else can't grow well. Anyway, that's what was occurring to me while you were reading. So this is an extract from Bhante Sujato's translation as a comparison, and we can start looking at the words, the meaning of the words, kind of delving in to get a sense of what the Buddha is pointing to and how this progression. And I also wanted to mention that it sounds like it's step by step by step, but I think there's a lot of feedback loops, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in this sequence. But especially if you're lacking this mindfulness and clear comprehension, or situational awareness is how Bhante Sujato likes to translate it. Some people like one translation or another. What translation do you like? Or do you have your own?
Tonight, I don't have a particular one, but I like to bring in the aspect of carefulness. which I think helps with both the mindfulness and the awareness.
Clear comprehension. Yeah, so there's a number of, we can look at the, how Satisampajañña is translated. So, Bhante Sujata says, mendicants, but this can be anyone, all practitioners, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, sayales, any renunciants, lay practitioners, everyone. When there is no mindfulness in situation, one who lacks mindfulness in
situational
awareness, I'm sorry, has destroyed a vital condition for conscious and prudent. So this is Hiriotapa here. And there's a moral, well, there's also fear and dread, and a lot of ways the Hiriotapa is kind of translated.
Conscious and prudence lands nicely for me.
Yeah, so this, but we'll look at the translation of Satisampajañña, and I have the Hiriotapa as well that we can look at, because that's a word that a lot of people are in the hard to translate, so it makes both sense and it isn't causing angst or people
sure.
not wanting to relate to it. So this Satisampajañña pana, and that's the compound word. It's been translated. So this is the negative, one who lacks. So this is the positive sense of it when you possess it. And I think it was probably negated. And I don't have all the Pali here, but
asati is the negation.
Okay. Oh, asati, yeah, not existing. Okay, thank you. It is there. So succeeded with remembering and knowing is it literally. So sati is remembering, is it literally the original meaning of the word, or one of the meanings is to remember. And the janya or pajanya is the knowledge or knowing. And then the second part of the word is sampana, accomplished and fulfilled, equipped with, consummate. So this means that with what a person is really either really skilled or not skilled in this practice. Or maybe if it's not present, we won't have conscious and prudence, and then we'll act in a way that's harmful to ourselves or others. So I have here, oops, Satisampajañña, clear present moment awareness. This is a dictionary translation of the compound word mindful attentiveness. And then was a concise Buddhist dictionary said memory and wisdom as a translation. And the janya is knowing or understanding, could know or must understand, depending on the form of the context of the word. So so it says present, it's often translated as present moment awareness or clear comprehension, and Bhante Sujata says situational awareness, because he thinks it's like being aware in the moment of what we're doing, and the situation is not just mechanically doing things, kind of knowing the why we're doing it, what the purposes of what we're doing, and different it's there's some awareness beyond just the fee, the sense contact. Um, so we would know when we're doing something, even our motivation, why what's motivating us to do something. Um, and when there is mindfulness and clear comprehension, the sense of moral shame and moral dread possesses their proximate cause. This is Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation again to compare. So I wanted to point this out because a lot of people do read Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi's translations, and the reason why he's translated it this way, I mean, it's a sense of conscience and concern, as Hiriotapa. This is a digital Pali dictionary translation. Respect for oneself and others is one way this is translated, but that doesn't really capture it completely. It's like the English words, it's hard to just to have a one-word translation for these things. And then it's literally shame and remorse. And that sounds kind of harsh to some people, like especially there's a certain
baggage in some culture.
yeah. And then there's a kind of unhealthy shame, and it's more about um inferiority complex, or self really harsh self-blame or low self-esteem and stuff like that, that all gets tangled up with guilt and shame and all this kind of things, and then you're a bad person. But this is not what they're talking about. I've written here when I was reflecting on it, how to talk about it, is there's a healthy remorse that sees the mistake, and it motivates us to make amends and change our behavior. So then we acknowledge, oh, I made a mistake, and then we can let go. Especially if we've decided we're going to change that, we're not going to let go and just forget, oh, that was a mistake, and do it again. That's not that kind of forgetfulness. You do feel kind of this twinge of, oh, that was really not kind that I did that, and really make an effort not to make that kind of mistake again. So it's not like browbeating and never forgiving yourself for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a wise guardian, not a prison guard.
Right. That's great. Yeah. So so the Satisampajañña helps to bring up this conscience and concern that may, and prior to making a a mistake, there is the guardian of, if I'm reaching for something I'm just using this as an example, that isn't appropriate for me to take, and then there's this. Yeah, so the Sampajanya would see the hand reaching for something, and then there would be this instinctive, or this not instinctive, but this learned sense of, this is not right. And then you stop. Or you're about to say something to somebody and you realize this is not kind, and you stop. So this is where that a guardian, a protector. It should be helpful to protect our behavior. So it's a precondition or a prerequisite, it says. But it's interesting, there's other suttas where Hiriyottapa comes in a sequence before Satisampajañña. So I think there's all these feedback loops as we perfect them, and they become more consistent in our lives. So here we have this again. When there is mindfulness and situational awareness, one who has fulfilled mindfulness and situational awareness has fulfilled a vital condition for conscience and prudence. So I think at this point it's really, it's not, there may be some reflecting back if we made mistakes, and then we have awareness that we're about to make a mistake again. And then it becomes more and more natural where we're not even going to be tempted at all, or habit patterns are changing. So we're become more and more at ease. So when we've fulfilled it to one who is fulfilled, I've got this ellipsed. I just captured the different elements here. So when we have the conscience and prudence, we have a vital condition for sense restraint. This is Indriya Samvara. And yeah, this is also a protection where we are aware of unwholesome mental states that may be flickering, and then we protect our mind from allowing it to actually, it may be just an impulse. We see an impulse arising, and it doesn't actually become a mental state. Like a little flicker of irritation doesn't become the full-blown, angry state of mind, something to that effect. So one who has fulfilled sense restraint has fulfilled a vital condition for ethical conduct. So here's this is like I was saying, they go back and forth. So if we've committed ourselves to certain ethical conduct, and then the Indriya Samvara would also protect us from unethical behavior. And the ethical behavior, understanding things as ethical and unethical, would help us with the sense restraint. I mean, I think would, am I making sense? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. And then when we have a proper ethical conduct, this is a support for right immersion. This is sama samadhi. And then the sama samadhi is the prerequisite or the vital condition for true knowledge and vision. So this is really a breakthrough into the path. And then that's a vital condition for disillusionment and dispassion. I didn't get all the I don't have all the Pali words here for this. This is do you have it there?
Which word are you looking for?
The disillusionment and dispassion. This is
Oh, wouldn't that be Nibida? And
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'll look.
Yeah. I was focusing more on the Hiriotapa. When you get to these states, um, yeah, these are more words that,
Nibida and Virago.
yeah, so could be fading away, the dispassion could be fading away. And Nibida is like turning away, but it's like at this point, we're preparing for true knowledge and the vision of freedom or actual full awakening. Do you have anything to say about this before we go further?
I think one that people get hung up on a lot, and probably not necessarily in this group, but when we're looking for sama samadhi, that right immersion, that stilling, people try to do the bypass of the ethical conduct, and it just doesn't work. To get to sama samadhi, a wholesome stilling, that ethical support really needs to be there. If it's not, then the kind of concentration you might obtain is likely tainted. The ethical conduct also can be, if it's dirty and you go to the cushion and you're really aiming for what's wholesome, of course that's what's going to come up in the mind, and it's going to act as a hindrance because it should, because earlier on the hiriotapa wasn't there, that sense of conscious.
Mhm.
So in these ways, we can really tangibly see in our practice when sense restraint is, um, not strong, then it's much easier to get carried away and just to do something without a real checking as to what is wholesome, what is not. So in each one of these cases, this would be a wonderful practice throughout this week, is to just look for examples of where one supports another or where a lack of one erodes the qualities of the next. So it shouldn't just be a Pali lesson here.
Yeah, we're trying not just to be but to understand what these words actually mean and how to apply them. And that's why I have some other extracts to explain a
Oh, yeah.
little bit more
Oh,
about.
this is a good sutta. Yeah.
Um, so this is this sutta we looked at a couple months ago. And the Buddha, it's a gradual training. I have in parentheses. This is the Maha Asapura Sutta, and this is Asapura is the location where the teaching was given. So the gradual training is not in the title, but it's actually what the Buddha is. He's questioning the monks step by step by step, and this conscience and prudence is very high on the list of the training. And this is a list of things that anyone may be accomplished in. They have these qualities, and our verbal and mental behavior is pure, our livelihood is pure, our sense doors are restrained, we don't eat too much, and we are dedicated to wakefulness. What more is there to do? And then he said, you should train yourself like this. We will have situational awareness and mindfulness. So this is to show that the sequence doesn't have to be the way it's shown and the first sutta we've been discussing. But that's why I'm saying that there's feedback loops where you're developing this Satisampajañña, and that supports the other things that are previous in the list as well, and you become more and more accomplished, and everything else is gaining strength at the same time. And then your conscience and prudence gets to a point where even like it's not just your speech and your bodily actions, but it's at the mental level. This conscious about unwholesome dhammas and phenomena arising, and you see them. It becomes so powerful. Somebody, oh, it was Ajahn Mahasamchai was talking about, it was like the kid with a video game, and they're like, every time the little enemy comes up or something, boom, 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 boom. It's like, it's so this tiniest little flicker of an unwholesome state. It was a very, very alert to letting it drop. Not that you're killing your mental states,
That's
but
good.
it's it's that quickness, you could develop this quickness of there, you see it. It's like we can't uh we'll have impulses and reactivity, uh but we can see it very quickly, and then we don't let it fester, we don't let it uh we don't hang on to it. We just or we are aware of it. We acknowledge, oh, there's irritation. Oh, there's greed. Oh, there's that um self-clinging, whatever it is, and you just see it, and then because you've seen it clearly, boom. So I think this may be why it's this sequence is reversed in the first sutta we were talking about. And in this one, someone in training has developed all these other things, and then they're ready to really perfect the Satisampajañña. Um, so what more should be done? Because this is Bhante Bodhi's translation. We will be possessed of mindfulness and full awareness. We will act in full awareness when going forward and returning. We will act in full awareness when looking ahead and looking away. We will act in full awareness when flexing and extending our limbs. We will act in full awareness when wearing our robes and carrying our outer robe and bowl. We will act in full awareness when eating, drinking, consuming food, and tasting. We will act in full awareness when defecating and urinating. We will act in full awareness when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, and keeping silent. So this may be talking about really the continuity of this Sati in all activities, without a break. This would be mastering this.
Yeah, when I first when I first remember encountering this, well, actually reading the suttas, I was, I don't think I was quite in Anagarika yet, out of Ranya Bodhi, and uh, Venerable Kachayana, before Venerable was Venerable, we were reading it, and this really struck me. This really struck me as that sense of the continuity. And I asked Ayata Tlok about it as well. And she said, look for the transitions. So if you're walking on the path and you're about to get to the bridge, notice the stepping onto the bridge. Notice, so everywhere there's a transition, notice if your mindfulness is there in the transition as well. And then notice that every transition can be broken down into other transitions, and just the smaller and smaller, the more nuanced. And that the mindfulness, the clear comprehending needs to be throughout all of that. And I was just really inspired by reading this list. It just struck me as, wow, nothing's left. She said, is there any time, and Ayasobana would say that you would say this too, is there any time where mindfulness is not appropriate?
Okay. Very mindfully, I'm aware of every step and I'm heading for the kitchen and the next step. And I'm reaching for the cupboard
Where's the
and I'm
sampajanya?
looking at the clock and it's 1:30 p.m. and I'm on 83
Where's the
steps.
clear
I'm
comprehension?
comprehending that I'm reaching for the cookies.
Oh dear.
So so then this is not appropriate.
Right. And that's where these other factors are the supports, the proximate causes for, yeah. And then you go to the cushion and you go, why is my meditation so bad today?
We've got somebody laughing with tears. Yeah, so we have to so this is where the Hariotapa comes in. There is a and then I would have to confess all the steps I took
Right.
to get the cookies later on. If I actually
Oh,
grab the no, there
that's
is
interesting because
yeah,
in the monastic code,
yes, that's what go
it's
ahead. Yeah, you're gonna
in the
explain.
monastic code, there's an offense for the moving toward, there's an offense for the picking up, there's an offense for each bite, some even say each chew.
Right,
Um,
right.
and so, you're piling offenses on very quickly, and that does really speak to the continuity. Thank you, Aya. That's so lovely.
And then it's even worse if I intentionally lie. If somebody says,
Yeah.
I noticed the cookies.
What cookies?
There were cookie crumbs everywhere and the cookie jar was half full in the afternoon when I came in to sweep. And what's up with that?
Yeah.
I didn't do it. Then I would consciously lie. This is a conscious lie. So this awareness, being aware of your speech, of your action, of your motivation. So it's not just um, yeah, mechanical, like without any sense of ethics attached to it. So I just have these are more poly terms, and I've been seeing that Trina has been showing on camera a number of times, and I'm wondering, we could probably stop at this point because this is just another translation of, and these are poly words, and we could give a time for discussion.
Yeah, this is a rich one to talk about.
Yeah,
It brings up questions typically.
and yeah, so it's just oh, this is the poly term. You can see there's different forms if you're studying the poly, when it becomes a verb, when it becomes a noun, when it's a compound word. We don't have to get into the grammar so much. And this is just Nyanamoli Terry's one who acts in full awareness. This is another translation of the actual activity itself as a verb.
The kari is the doing or
The doing or the acting, yeah. So one who acts in full awareness is another way of translating it, just a different form of it. So we can close the document and then stop the screen share. And we could go into gallery view. And then we can have a discussion for those who wish to. I know Trina's had, I'm guessing you have your camera on because you have a question or you'd like to comment or something. Is that true? You can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Diane. I just wanted to just show my face and be present with you. And yes, yes, really wonderful sutra. And I really value, the talking about Hiri and Ottappa. I definitely feel that, there's a blessing of coming from a culture where, for me, shame actually is moving me towards goodness,
Mhm.
right? Rather than towards like self-hatred and, this evaluation of self-worthiness, which is so striking as I, more and more emerge with the Western culture and ways of being and seeing that like distinct difference in how it really affects a person's way of being and spiritual development and how that area is such a touchy thing to talk about, to even reflect on. And like from, and I've spent a lot of time reflecting on this through the years as I see my Western friends and practitioners and how the block that's there with what shame brings up about self versus just action. How, if it's rooted in action, then there's ways we can, still progress. But when it becomes about self, how uh, it's easy to get stuck. Um, and so I'm really grateful for the training I received as a child, just and culturally too, and seeing it as something good to feel shame, to experience that, and then to be moved by that in a positive direction. Um, and I really appreciate what was said. Yeah, Nika, you said something, you spoke about how, like, part of the practice of mindfulness, when we don't practice ethical conduct, that the concentration is not, it's not right concentration. And, you know, it's, I think the fact that I spent a lot of times with monks and nuns at a young age that was embedded into the understanding that when I pursue the path of meditation, I knew the first thing I had to do was precepts, really like take it to the next level, right? And go further with it, really like, you know, uh, work to purify conduct and speech. And I see how at times when that is not so prevalent and doesn't become a big part of the focus on this path of mindfulness and meditation, that I do see where, like you were saying, it's not clean, right, or purified. So there's delusion. And it's so hard to, I feel like, express that and convey that. Um, because I think in our culture, um, we pick and choose what we like and the
Yeah.
things that we don't like, you know, we reject, but then we don't get the full path. It's like, baking a cake, but not using all the ingredients. So we don't really get the whole recipe to bake that cake. And
Great
so
analogy, yes.
yeah.
Go.
And and yes, and so even when I like reflect and lightly touch on this when I share this with friends, I feel that it's very touchy to talk about
Yeah.
ethical conduct because it brings up a lot of shame, which then leads to paralysis or kind of like doubt. I can't do this. It's not for me. I'm not going to do this. This isn't my path. And so I wonder how, I didn't think about this, but now as the more I think about it, I wonder how, you encounter this when, you're working with practitioners and students who, haven't seen clearly this, how important ethical conduct is.
Yeah, I thank you so much for sharing from your perspective. And just, I want to say again, this word shame is so loaded, and there's a lot of confusion about, and that's why I like to look at various ways the words are translated, because it may soften it or maybe bring more understanding to it. But there has to be this kind of like, well, and there's the analogy, if you touch a hot stove, you get burnt, and you feel that pain of being burnt. And then you don't want to touch the stove again. Or your mother tells you again and again, don't touch the hot, I'm thinking of the cast iron wood stove. Don't touch that. And so some children will listen to their parent, and that's enough to guard them from getting burnt. But some people get burnt, and so there is that pain of getting burnt. And then that's the memory, not to do that again. And this is where that shame is, if I made a mistake. A shame is after the fact. So there's a conscience which would be preventing me from doing it in the first place, and the shame would come after I made a mistake. But if I can say, I made the mistake to myself, and then that we say to each other, I made this mistake. I went and I just was overcome by this desire for these cookies, and I went in there at the wrong time and I ate them. And then I'd have to say, even like step by step by step, and I was aware I was walking towards the kitchen for that intention, and I was aware of opening up the cupboard door. And it's just like, and that's to ingrain in me not to do it again. And what would you say to me if I told you this?
Do you see it? Do you see the issue?
Yes.
And try not to do that again.
Well, it'd be, from now on,
Train in not doing that. Yeah.
restraint, train and
Practice
restraint, practice restraint.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that's it.
But I would have the embarrassment of coming to my monastic companion and admitting I blew it.
And I is not a cookie monster. You don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I'm just using this as an example. I haven't done that. But there was a story about this anagarika, and I don't know, people might know this one, where the anagarika went, and he was really hungry, and he went into the kitchen and he made himself a sandwich because he had access to the kitchen, but he was on 8 precepts and it was after the time. And then he felt so horrible later, and then he went to Ajahn Brahm and he's like, oh, and then so he says to Ajahn Brahm what he did, and Ajahn Brahm says, yeah, well, from now on, don't do that again. And then the Alnagar is like, is that all? And then he said, okay, 30 strokes of the cat. And the cat is a cat of 9 tails, and that's the Australian
whip, a whip.
Yeah, and then he said that the oligarch turned as white as his robes, and then he said, "Go find Kitty
The cat.
and stroke it 30 times." But yeah, so he did say that for an effect. But it was like, no, in the Buddhist culture, we don't do corporal punishment. We don't browbeat. We just say, next time, try harder. Don't do that again. It's like, and if I keep confessing stealing the cookies or taking the cookies,
we can talk more, but
yeah, then maybe I'm off limits to the kitchen completely for something. I don't know.
I can reply a little bit, and then I think Sayale may have something to say as well.
Yeah, please.
So when somebody comes and they're wearing their shame, and it's internalized, and they're identified with their shame.
I have to notice my laptop is low on.
Oh, I was gonna go get the cord for the laptop. So when that happens, and as it does, one thing I point out is that it is the conditioning that brought us to that action. So the conditioning that brought us there, of course, they did this deed that they're not happy about, and they're feeling this sense of shame. But it was the deed that came out of that conditioning. And so what is important now is to see, how did I foster the conditions that would lead me to that action? And this is taking that sense of self out of it. It's the conditions that brought me to that. I feel what that feels like to have done that. And because I care about this life, I would like to change the conditions. And that allows me to have some sense of agency and practice in adjusting the conditions. And so it's about conditionality, not self.
And then the condition of me admitting to
The
myself
mistakes.
and to another person is a different kind of conditioning that I,
And then I also do explain this, the monastic way of doing confessions, and how it's supposed to help lighten the heart, not be a burden and a heaviness. So those are two ways that I work with that. And then also a lot of embodiment practice in the experience of letting go.
so Sayale, did you have something you would like to?
Yeah, a comment on this?
A comment or?
No. Uh, yes, I feel like this is actually a subject that is something that I think from childhood, shame and guilt was one of my strongest emotions, actually. So it's, yeah, I can definitely speak from direct experience, and I think I'm only learning now how to deal with it in some ways. Um, um, I'll use one example actually to so way before I became a nun, when I still used to smoke cigarettes. Um, but I had some health problems because of it, and I really wanted to stop. And I wanted to stop for all good reasons to stop. I didn't want to uh, um, need it, and yeah, it's for many reasons, obviously. And I, but even though I was having heart problems, I couldn't stop. Like, I would try. Every day I would try to quit. So yeah, it was also a general. And I also started doing Tai Chi, and I went to China. I went to the Wudang Mountains, which is an incredibly beautiful place in the rainforest, and I was doing Tai Chi every day, and uh, I was starting to, my body was transforming, my mind was transforming due to just the practice every day and being in that beautiful environment and being quite very secluded. I had no one to speak to. It was kind of like a silent retreat, secluded retreat, because there was no one that spoke English. But as a result of like and because of the Tai Chi, I started to be able to breathe better. Even though I think I was still smoking a little bit at that time, uh, and that being able to breathe and feeling good is what helped me to be able to quit, because I was like, oh wow, this feels good. I want this good feeling. And when I smoke, it feels bad. So I couldn't stop when I had negative feelings, force, or just feeling bad about myself. It just wasn't working. And I found that really interesting. That, yeah, when I started to feel good about myself is when it came naturally. I stopped smoking, and since then I've never smoked again and never desired to smoke. It wasn't even a difficult transition, which is not a usual story. Most people struggle. So I think it's the same concept of, and it's something that I'm working with myself at the moment. Um, and one thing, because it's such a challenge in my own practice, and I see that it causes, yeah, self-doubt is a real hindrance and doubt in one's own ability. I've often thought I was not good enough to be a nun. Um, and I wanted to disrobe because of, relatively small things. And when I asked my teacher, he basically just said, "This is normal." He was like, "Yes, we all make mistakes." And that was quite helpful to me. And yes, to obviously this is a training. So when we are training, we're not going to be perfect. We keep trying, and some things will be easier for some, and some things will be more difficult. And so we shouldn't compare ourselves to others, but just be very present where we are. And okay, this is what I have to deal with in this moment. This is my own challenge. And so I also um I think I'm quite self-flagellating in my thinking I'm not disciplined enough in my meditation practice, or if my mind is scattered. I also, it's obviously, it's on in everything. It's why it's when you have this tendency, it can attach itself to kind of any situation. And so I can work with it in whatever situation it comes up. But for example, using the feeling good. So instead of trying to be more disciplined by force, in the same way that it didn't work for me to try quit smoking, even though I have been trying to do it by force, which, I mean, making right effort and is good, obviously. But now I do focus more on. It's only recently discovered this in meditation. Like, it wasn't obvious to me before, and I feel quite silly for not knowing this. But this is just how it is. But like the focusing on the feeling good and the calm aspect, especially when I'm starting meditation, is something that I didn't know before. Like, I would just try to concentrate through mindfulness of breathing, and obviously it didn't work very well because I was trying too hard, and my mind was still, this is not good enough, what, this whole thing. So now I just I focus on the this is through the Thai masters. I think some of the Thai masters, they are better at explaining this. Yeah, to focus on pleasant feeling throughout the body, and a calm feeling. And so that has completely transformed my meditation and my understanding as well. Because if it transforms my meditation and in life, once I know that calm feeling, it's very easy for me to remember it in any moment in life. So that's even with my sampajana, that would be like the first thing, like, okay, the feeling of whatever, okay, just feel calm, accepting, okay, this is what's happening, this is reality in this moment. And now I'm a something that I perceive as a weakness, or I know that is not productive or whatever. Now I'm really grateful, because I'm like, oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
I think you might have frozen.
Oh, we are at the
Oh,
top of
yeah.
the hour.
I just wanted to say a few words
Yeah.
that,
Wonderful.
yeah, I think that, yeah, really appreciate your sharing and what culture we come from. Like Trina was talking about her experience, and Siley was talking about hers, and I'm thinking what's occurring to me is like a child, how a child is raised. And if a child is raised in a very loving, protective, like the stove analogy too, and when the child is very small, you very carefully just protect them from getting near the stove at all. And then they have to understand the danger, and you explain it to them, and they may even be feeling the heat coming off of it too. I mean, but it's like you just if you're treating your own mind with a lot of loving kindness and forgiveness, and seeing, okay, these are uh, conditions, like you were saying, seeing the conditionality and knowing that we can change, and then providing. That was so beautiful, like Siley was talking about being in the mountains and breathing the fresh air, and what it's like to breathe the fresh air instead of breathing cigarette smoke. And so if you've fallen into, or your conditioning is such as you have these self-destructive habits, just go, oh, notice when I'm not doing that, how that feels. But but if we've made a mistake that's socially incorrect for some reason, like the example of the cookies at the wrong time, then we have to speak to other people and get help.
Mhm.
We get, and then the companion will say, try harder, do it, try not to
Just practice some restraint.
practice, and
But
then
it's wholesome.
and so that's a wholesome reinforcement to change our behavior without, I mean, yeah, it's so there is the both. You also have to have, if my spiritual companion is only saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that,
Yeah.
then I'm not going to listen to them.
Balance.
So if there's this loving kindness between the two of us, I'm just using this example. And internally too, if you're just always seeing the mistakes and just dwelling on that, and just, okay, it's just, there's I acknowledge I made a mistake, I let it go. But I want to have that guard to say, oh, I don't want to make that mistake again. And so then I can congratulate myself. I was in the kitchen, I saw the cupboard door, it was even open a little bit, and I just shut it and walked away. Hooray! Just using that, so anytime we say, okay, I didn't pick up the cigarettes, I didn't pick up the drink, I didn't pick up whatever it is, that these addictions are really hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of our behaviors are like addictions.
Yeah.
So we have to be patient. We have to be a loving parent to ourselves. Give ourselves hugs. Okay, good on you. You shouldn't do it. You didn't, or you noticed it.
Mhm.
I noticed that, that I was criticizing myself, or I noticed my anger, and okay. Hooray. I'm not dwelling on it. That feels great. Anyway, thank you all so much for your input. It's good to see all of you. And we can close now because it is a little bit after 9. And you can stay on if you care to for after party, as Yannicka says. Araham Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Thank you all. We're going off the YouTube. Thank you all for